Now we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a team and DJ on the ones and twos. By the name Elzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two. And prepare to hear the legend of the straight chilling crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another visionary episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 389, recorded Sunday, September 18th, 2022. Tonight, we're talking about another Patreon pick. This was chosen by Jacqueline, and the movie is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy Randu. What's up, man?
Randu!
Nothing much, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm going to call you Randuce this episode. We're talking about Halloween Deuce. It makes sense.
It doesn't make sense. You're wrong. I don't know. I'm a very sick boy today, so I'm not going to be putting up too gnarly of a fight about anything. But you're wrong.
Nice. Time to steamroll Randuce all episode.
Ooh, talking dirty now.
Next up, calling in from South Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy. Rob Zombie is a hack and a wet fart in the pants of the horror genre. Stains.
Wow.
That's a fart
What an
stain.
original phrasing that no one else could have ever conceived of.
I know, Randy. You inspire me.
Randy's an inspiration.
I really
across
look
the
up
nation.
to Randy, actually.
Chaos
Yes. The
This is the
Randuce
ultimate
is
goal
loose.
I've always had is to infiltrate the minds of the youth of America.
I know.
Like Justin,
Yeah, I
the
know,
young
yeah.
man living in America.
Randy has
Yeah.
taken me under his wing. You know, he's my mentor. You know, as a young
I don't like where this is
as a
going.
young podcaster, Randy has really guided me over these years. You know,
I'm
He's
just really
molding you like clay
Get the juice now.
in his strong, manly hands.
juice.
we had to retire that bump. Bob sends too many fresh bumps. So
Mhm.
blame Bob.
We had to shut some
The
of
Iron
Rob's
Fist.
bumps down tonight. We're
I know.
taking the Iron Fist back.
Ooh,
Weird.
the Infinity Fist.
We're fisting now, Bob.
We can all take turns, buddy. You don't have to get too aggressive right off the bat here. Everybody knows.
Are you the butthole?
Are you the butthole, Rob?
Bye.
Yes, you are this week. This is your fault, Bob. Explain
This is not my
yourself.
fault.
This is your fault.
Jacqueline,
Why
chose
did you
this nice
personally fund this
movie.
film?
She chose this nice movie for us to talk about. We're going to do our
Mhm.
best job to talk about it. So thank you, Jacqueline. Before we get into it, let's tackle some housekeeping real quick. Our October poll pick is currently posted over on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie. Actually, 3 movies we're talking about this October. So the theme is Halloween Extravaganza. And the way we're doing it this month is Randy, Soju, and myself all picked a theme with which 3 movies go. So you're going to be voting on theme alone, and whichever theme wins, we will then reveal the 3 movies we'll be talking about for our Halloween Extravaganza episode. And the themes are Psycho Killer Qu'est-ce que c'est, They Dwell Within, and Eat the Rich's Butts.
Whoa, Bob! How are those numbers looking?
Look at They Dwell Within is still dwelling on top. Eat the Rich is in second place. Psycho Killer Qu'est-ce que c'est is in third.
Whoa, boys, I will say that spooky season is going too fast. I cannot believe
It is.
we're heading into
Dude.
the last week of September. It needs
I feel
to
it, yeah.
slow down.
Slow the fuck down, please.
This is too much, too quick. We got to get this shit on a slow roll, please.
It's
Pump
just been
brakes.
filled with mini episode recordings and
Oh my god.
Mega episode
Bob's
recordings.
bullshit and-
My
And of
fucking
course- What
is none of your
bullshit.
business?
Yes.
classic bump indeed.
Just staying too busy.
Make sure you get your votes in before the end of September, and we'll see what 3 movies we'll be talking about for our Halloween extravaganza episode. We're also dropping a brand new mini cast every single Friday, the month of September and October. Last Friday, we dropped an episode on the Apple Plus series Severance. And this Friday, we're dropping a new episode on a Shudder original film called What Hosea Saw. And Juice, you're just running your mouth on both of those.
Damn, I'm just talking. I'm filling your ear holes for the month of September, apparently. So is it? Yeah, what Josiah saw, right? Were you like talking crazy, or is that how it's pronounced?
I don't know. I think that's just how I say it. Who knows if I'm right or wrong?
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know if you
Josiah,
were like
Hosea.
Oh, okay. I think
it's a J.
If I remember right, I think the father's name is Josiah in that movie, but either way, it doesn't. Okay, I was just clarifying.
What did he see?
Oh, he saw some things, boys. Whoa, I don't want to give away the twisty, but
God.
Yeah, this is the movie.
Is he blind? Is that the twist?
Well,
like a rainbow in the dark, bro. Whoa.
Double rainbow in the dark.
Oh shit.
No, this is I talked about this a couple weeks ago when I talked about what you've been watching. This was a pretty interesting film. I feel like it has hints of like really phenomenal movies, really movies that I love. Like I mentioned, No Country for Old Men, maybe a little bit of Hereditary mixed in there. I don't think it quite lives up to those elements, but it's got really great pieces in there, some really good cinematography. This is a slow burn. I don't think it's going to be for everyone. It's also kind of like an American Gothic type deal. It's about kind of like a potentially haunted farmhouse type of thing. So it's a very much salt of the earth type of movie. But it was
sprang forth fully formed from the soil.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I actually enjoyed it pretty good. But if you're not into kind of like slow burns, then you might struggle with it a bit. You might lose your patience, but I enjoyed it pretty good.
Yes. So you can listen to both of those and a whole back catalog of Patreon exclusive episodes. Yeah, hit us up at the $10 level or above. You get access to all of that. We're over 75 bonus episodes now. We add to that every single month. So if you want more straight chilling in your ear holes, now's a really great time to sign up since we're dropping an episode every single week. Also, speaking of new patrons, we got not one but 2 brand new patrons.
Shit.
We got to give shouts out
my
to
favorite
Anna,
segment.
Anna P. And our boy Hugh H.
Oh my God, the legend.
Oh my shit.
Anna, I appreciate you signing up. But you picked the wrong week because Hugh is a fucking legend. No,
Anna's a legend.
Christ.
Anna, you are
pit
awesome.
the new patrons against each other, shall we?
Anna fucks.
You're both legends. Thank you.
Yeah,
yes,
thank you guys both so
sincerely.
much. As is tradition around these parts, we owe you both the straight chilling salute. These go out to Anna and Hugh. Here we go.
Slap my ass.
Oh, one more.
Slap me in the ass.
Slap me in the ass.
Slap.
Get in there.
Slap. Oh, it's a good week. Slaps for everybody.
Oh, boys. I'm feeling perked up now.
Ready. I'm raring to go. In other Patreon news, we are returning to our Chilloween party. So this is something new we did last year for anybody that supports us on Patreon at any level. We did a virtual hangout via Zoom, and we're doing the same thing this year. We're doing a bit of a Halloween contest, a costume contest that is, and then we're also doing some horror movie trivia, and we're going to be screening a movie as well. So throw on whatever Halloween costume you want, partake in some trivia. We'll be giving away prizes. Whoever wins the costume contest will win some shit. Whoever wins trivia will win some shit. And then we got a surprise horror movie that we're going to be screening and watching together. We'll have a little chat bar going on the side so we can bullshit along the way. It was a lot of fun last year. And yeah, mark your calendars. That's happening Friday, October 14th. at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
And
Prepare
as
to be bedazzled.
Bob mentioned, whether you support us at the $1 level or the $10,000 hangout with straight chilling crew, first class flying
Fly us
level.
to
Or the
Bangkok.
20,000 take Juice's anal virginity.
Whoa,
That's,
making some bold assumptions, Randy.
I guess so.
Not that bold.
I'm not going to be the one to find out. I'll tell you that. I don't have the funds or the inclination.
You're about to have the
Anyways,
fun.
anyways, we all inclusive on the old Chilloween there.
Yes,
Right.
please
Yeah.
come and enjoy.
We fly you down to Sandals, Jamaica. The food, the drinks are all included. It's gonna be great. So that's happened Friday, October 14th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. That's all I got, gentlemen. Do you guys have anything else you want to mention?
Not a damn thing.
My house is clean.
Squeaky clean.
House is clean.
Alrighty, boys. Let's get into the main event. We're talking Rob Zombie's Halloween Deuce, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
All right, Halloween 2 from 2009
Bob.
with a run. Yeah,
You have this box, you sad,
You-
sad man.
I have the Halloween box set, and this was included. So I do have it on the Blu-ray disc.
It's supposed to be a
This-
force of nature. He's supposed to be almost supernatural.
It's supposed to be. So, thank you, John, for chiming in at the
Oh,
perfect
John.
time. So this on IMDb it says this has a runtime of 1:45. I think that's the theatrical cut.
Mm,
The director's cut, which I believe is the easier one to find now,
mhm.
has a runtime of 1 hour and 58 minutes. So
I've
just
only
shy
ever
of 2
seen
hours.
the director's cut. I don't
Me
even
too,
know what
actually.
the theatrical
Yeah.
one is.
I have
Well,
no idea
I'll-
which version I saw.
I'll
No
break it
fucking
all
idea.
down for you guys whenever I go through the plot. And all
Mine
that
was
shit.
the one with the runes.
The thorny runes.
Mine was the one where Jason's body was reanimated after being dug up. Is that the right
Dude,
one?
Dude,
that's
pretty
the best
close.
one. That's the best one.
Oh, okay, good.
This movie was written and directed by Rob Zombie. It's starring Scout Taylor Compton, Tyler Main, Malcolm McDowell. Richard Brake is in it for a hot minute. So is Octavia Spencer, Sherry Moon Zombie, of course, Brad Dourif. Good lord. There's a lot of like cameos in this too. Brea Grant,
Yeah.
Margot Kidder, Danielle Harris, of course. Some other folks. Plot synopsis brought to us by the back of the box is as follows. Evil has a new destiny. Michael Myers is back in this terrifying sequel to Rob Zombie's visionary reimagining of Halloween, which grossed almost 80 million worldwide.
Oh,
It is
God.
that time. I know it's that time of year again, and Michael Myers has returned home to sleepy Haddonfield, Illinois, to take care of some unfinished family business. Unleashing a trail of terror, Myers will stop at nothing to bring closure to the secrets of his twisted past. The town's got an unlikely new hero, but who can stay alive long enough to stop the unstoppable?
I'm sorry.
Jill
wait,
Mangs. Yeah, what's up?
Who's the new hero? What are we
I guess
talking
they
about?
mean Loomis, which is he's not new at all. That's all I can figure. I don't.
He's
It's not,
not
very
a
good.
hero.
He's not a hero.
No,
It's not
he's
very good.
definitely not a hero in this movie.
It's not very
Oh
good.
man, even this
Oh,
box
man.
is a piece of shit.
That box, the person who writes the copy for this movie just could not be bothered.
Gave
Just
the
couldn't force
fuck
himself
up.
to watch it.
It's better than the IMDb synopsis, which is just the spoiler of the movie. It's just the spoiler. That's
They
it.
just
That
they
is-
just watched the
Myers
first
is a
5
state mental
minutes
patient.
and assumed that Richard Brake was gonna come out on top
was
and
the,
be the
yeah, he's the hero.
Oh,
Yeah.
he'll probably be the new hero.
Richard Brake as the hero is an absolute zombie move.
Gentlemen, had you seen this movie before, and would you recommend people check it out? Randy, please kick us off.
No, I had never seen this film. It is the only entry into the Halloween franchise that I had not seen, and it was largely because I was very deeply put off by the first zombie iteration, which you can hear in episode whatever number that is, way back when.
128?
129,
yeah,
somewhere
something.
around that range.
Earlier than I thought.
Yeah.
Even. Okay. Yeah. So no, I hadn't seen it by design, but I did watch it and Halloween 1, Rob Zombie, again to reintegrate myself into that.
No, Randy.
And yeah, I would not. I'm not a strong recommend for these films. I will leave it there.
Right on. Juice, what about you?
No, do not watch this movie. It is the worst entry into the Halloween
had you seen it?
franchise. Oh, yeah, I'd seen
Yeah.
it. So actually,
Okay.
speaking of this, a couple like throughout a couple Halloween seasons, you can hear me saying like, "Oh, this is the only entry I haven't watched in the franchise." And a couple times I'd started it and been like, "Okay, I gotta finish the franchise." Would start the movie and couldn't finish it until I just
Oof.
made myself one day and hoped I'd never have to watch it again, and yet here we are. So yes, I had seen it.
No!
Don't watch it.
Right on.
Bob, why do you
yes.
love this film so much?
Well, I'd seen this. I think this is my third watch
Oh god.
through here.
Jesus.
I do not love this movie, but I also do not think it's the worst Halloween movie in existence. The Rob Zombie movies catch a whole hell of a lot of shit, and it's very understandable. I think the first Halloween, Rob Zombie's first Halloween movie, I think is worse than this, and we'll get into all that. Do I recommend it? Like, not really, man. Honestly, unless you're just a Halloween completionist, there's much better, but I do think there's worse still. So. It sounds like I just not recommend from the Straight Chilling Crew across the board. Let's be real here. But
that was the nicest version of not recommending something we could muster.
I think so. I think so. Yeah. We're gonna get into the rest of the movie, and here comes that spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning.
Oh, Bob, do you have a plot synopsis?
I
would
do,
love to
and
hear this.
it's relatively short, which is great. And also, I'm going to sum up the theatrical ending and the director's cut ending.
Oh, I
Okay.
didn't know
you'll
they had
know.
different endings.
They do, yeah, they do.
Oh god.
They're yeah. Well, I'll get to it. Anyway, here
Okay.
goes the full plot. A young Michael Myers is visited by his mother in Smith's Grove Sanitarium, where she gives him a white toy horse. 15 years later, we find Laurie Strode in shock after having shot the adult Michael Myers. Sheriff Brackett picks her up and takes her to the hospital. Michael's body is then taken away in an ambulance. The ambulance driver has an accident, awakening Michael, who kills the paramedics. Michael then finds his way over to the hospital, kills multiple other people. Just before he kills Laurie, she wakes up, revealing it was just a dream. We then skip to 1 year later, or 2 years later. So it says 1 year in the theatrical and then 2 years in the director's cut. So there's a difference there. Yeah, I know.
It makes a huge difference.
There's a 1 year jump in the theatrical and a 2 year jump in the director's cut.
Is that the only difference?
No, there's more. There's more.
Okay.
So we then find Laurie is now living with Sheriff Brackett and his daughter Annie Brackett. She's extremely traumatized by the events from Halloween 1. She goes to therapy, but it doesn't seem to be helping her. Michael Myers is just looking like a straight up hobo. He's got a huge beard. He's having visions of his mother and a younger version of himself and a really nice white horse. She tells him to reunite with his sister. Laurie is having some similar visions. Some of her other visions are actually of her murdering her friends, Annie. Dr. Loomis has written a book about the tragedy that befell Haddonfield, and he's cashing in on the whole tale. When his book is released, Laurie reads it, finds out her real name is Angel Myers, and she is Michael's sister. She decides to go to a Halloween party to blow off some steam. Michael shows up, kills some of her friends. When Laurie returns home, she finds Annie Brackett fatally wounded. Laurie escapes and tries to flag down a car, but Michael catches her and takes her back to his hobo shack. Laurie wakes up and she's having a shared vision with Michael about their mother. The police find Michael and surround the shack. And then this is the theatrical ending here. Loomis shows up. He tries to reason with Michael, but Michael stabs him to death. Brackett shoots Michael through the window of the shack, and he ends up getting impaled on a rake. Laurie stabs him to death. She then puts on the mask and walks out of the shack. Later, we find she's sitting in isolation in a psych ward, and she's having visions of her mother. Roll credits there.
That is what I saw.
Okay, that's not what I saw.
Okay, so Randy saw the theatrical. So here's the director's cut ending. Loomis shows up, tries to reason with Michael. Michael tackles him through the wall of the shack. Outside of the shack, Michael removes his mask and shouts, "Die!" towards Loomis. Before stabbing Loomis, the cops shoot and kill
What?
Michael. Yeah, the cops shoot and kill Michael. Laurie picks up the knife and walks towards Loomis to stab him as well, but the cops shoot and seemingly kill her too. We then cut to Laurie Strode sitting in isolation in a psych ward having visions of her mother. Roll credits. There you
Wait.
go.
Oh, really? I never saw her in a psych ward. I thought she got shot by the cops.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
credits.
Maybe you turned
it.
it off and you're just like,
I
fuck
did.
this.
Yeah, because
No,
credits
there's-
start to.
There's nothing post credit. All that happens pre credit.
Oh no.
She gets
Okay.
shot by
Maybe
the
there's
cops.
some other weird
My,
cut
yeah,
out
my
there
cut.
then.
Literally, she gets shot by the cops, and then there's literally like a cut, and it goes to like the credits where they like are showing people's names and pictures, like pictures of like
Yeah,
victims.
Yeah, those are the normal credits. So somebody
Maybe
just
you
cut
had
off
the
her sitting in the
humiliation
psych
cut.
ward, apparently.
I guess. Okay.
Which is definitely not real. Like that's like so the camera, she gets shot and she's laying in the grass
Yeah,
dying. She's not quite
uh-huh.
dead yet, and the camera zooms in on her face, and then like as it gets right up
Oh
to her
yeah,
eyes,
okay.
it then
The
cuts.
horse is
The
walking.
horse,
That's
exactly.
right. That's
Yeah,
right. I
yeah.
did see that. I forgot.
Okay,
I
yeah.
forgot. I watched
That's-
this last night. Blocked it from my mind.
Oof, yeah. That is the director's cut ending. So there
Okay.
are some pretty striking differences. There's particularly I
2
think they're really
years.
key. They key well. I think they key in on like obviously Michael talking, which has never happened before, which is jarring. But also they key in a little bit more on I think Michael and Laurie's like psychic sort of connection there, where she picks up the knife and seemingly like takes on the family mantle to go kill Loomis or whatever.
Oh, man.
Which love it or hate it. I think so. This movie's got a lot of problems. I'm sure we're going to talk about. But I think as far as the Halloween franchise goes, and like the big swings that have been taken throughout it, I dig this sort of delving into this sort of deeper connection between Michael and Laurie, which they kind of get into in Halloween 4, right? Well, it's
Yeah.
with Jamie, really, not Laurie at that point. But I find that to be the most interesting big swing in the franchise. It's more interesting to me than like the Cult of Thorn coming in Halloween 6. It's more interesting to me than like an H2O where like Michael Myers decides to kill any Strode when they turn 17 because that's the age that Laurie was. It's just sort of nonsense. It's also like more interesting to me that like the Michael Myers is now the fucking Terminator, and like, after like watching Halloween Kills, he seemingly is indestructible. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. They take a lot of swings throughout the course of the franchise, and I think this is the one that makes the most sense, and I find the most intriguing. Did Zombie like nail it? No, he didn't. But like, I don't mind it as much, I guess, as some of the others.
I don't like it.
Yeah, that
I
makes
don't-
sense.
I like here's the thing. That whole conceit was at its best in Halloween 4, and I
Yeah.
don't think that bringing it back after seeing what came of that was the fucking smartest goddamn move you could have made. I don't think that there's like the idea of like you start bringing in ESP and the sister connection, like the sibling connect, like all that shit. Like I was so grateful to get to Halloween 2018 just because they dropped all that shit. Like it does.
Yeah.
That is not like, to me, that is that any sort of explanation just kind of ruins the broth that is Halloween. Like you kind of
Totally
need it to
agree.
be
Yeah.
like the idea of it being just any explanation you give. It's a catch-22, and I get it. Like it is a tough thing to do if you're trying to make horror sequels and build on something, but the act of building on it inherently cheapens what you've made already. Because what you've made already, it relies entirely, or what was made from the beginning, the thing that engrossed people was Halloween 1, where they did not explain shit. Like they just have a guy who is dead set on stalking these particular girls because they talked to him or something. Like you don't have to think beyond that point. You just have to know there's this scary guy who is apparently impervious to pain, but not impervious to gunshots or anything else. He's just able to survive that shit long enough to keep attacking. But the more you build on that, the less believable it becomes. The more you have to bring in supernatural elements, and the more supernatural elements you bring in, the cheaper it becomes. The more it becomes just like any other fucking dumbass slasher movie, which like just making excuses for why this character needs to kill people. We don't need an excuse. Not having the excuse worked. So I
Yeah,
don't know, man.
I
I
agree.
liked it in Halloween 4. I liked it because I like Daniel Harris, but there's nobody in these two movies that I find inherently likable, except for maybe Sheriff Brackett. I kind of liked him. Brad Dourif did a lot
Yeah.
with that character, and that's actually one thing I want to call out as a positive for this movie is based like having seen now Halloween 1 and 2, Zombies Halloween 1 and 2. Man, this movie is a stark improvement on the like sort of like at home conversations than they were in the first movie. In the first movie, it was
Yeah.
like as fucking it sounded like it was written like it sounded like it was all one guy's voice talking to himself. And it was Rob Zombie
Rob Zombie
talking
yeah.
about skull fucking to himself and pretending it
Girl.
was his wife saying it and shit like that. Like it did not sound like there weren't characters. There were just alternate conduits for Rob Zombie's way of speaking. And in this movie, there's some actual like almost interplay that seems like familial in some way. It feels like a family. They aren't talking about skull fucking. They aren't talking about being molested to their parents. They're not doing any of that shit.
You don't talk to your family about skull fuckery?
Dude, I mean, like, I don't
There's
know.
there's still some of that going on, but
There
not
is.
to the
but
extent
it's
the first
far
one.
toned down, and I was very much appreciative of that.
Juice, how do you feel about this like familial psychic link between Laurie and Michael?
The thing about this is you're talking about big swings that he does, but honestly, this is true. I don't think there is an original thought here. And honestly, I don't in any way think that this was planned out. And anything that gets introduced, and even as this movie progresses, it literally just feels like Rob Zombie finding ways that shouldn't be to include his wife and his friends, as he always has to do, as opposed to trying to tell a Halloween story. So I remember before I watched this film, I was curious and kind of relieved because I was like, thank God there's going to be some Rob Zombie movie that's not going to have fucking Sherry Moon Zombie in it, because she's dead in the first one. She can't be here. Well, she can be in this movie. And when it introduced this idea, I didn't think, oh, that's some kind of curious idea that he's doing. I was like, he literally is just trying to find another way to put his wife in the movie. And in a way to do that, hang on, he essentially just turns, talking about there's no original thought in this movie, he essentially then just turns Michael Myers into Jason Voorhees in doing that. He just steals the ideas of Friday the 13th and forces them in this movie so he can make his wife be in the movie again.
Yeah, I mean, listen. So I listened to the commentary for this, and I mean, I agree with everything that you said. But to give a little bit more, I guess, information as to the choice of bringing Sherry Moon back as like a ghosty apparition that Michael sees, he decided that he wanted a device to give Michael a voice without having Michael straight up talk. So as she is talking to him, those are his thoughts that we're now able to hear by way of his mom. You know.
I mean, I got that, and I think that, like, if that is if your goal is to try and give Michael Myers a voice or whatever, I literally had this thought. I was like, you know what, that's a tough ask. If that's what you are trying to do, you know, I can think of worse ways to do it, but not like having him scream the word "die," for example. I didn't know that. But I don't know, but there are worse ways to do it, and I was like, you know, whatever, that can be fine if it's in service to something that makes sense, and it doesn't. Like, if it's in service to something that works, not even makes sense, just works on an inherent level, having Sherry Moon Zombie around, like, there's constantly this, like, it doesn't feel like an integral mystery to the narrative as to whether or not she's real or whether or not there's actually something supernatural going on. It just feels like suddenly, all of a sudden, just because they have an ESP link, she is able to see, Laurie is able to see the same delusions as her brother, and that leads her to become like her. Like, that doesn't, Jesus, at least in Halloween 4, where they did this same thing where it was like, oh, this familial person is going to take up the mantle. They didn't have this thing that was explicitly laying out the fucking beats of the movie to you like you're an idiot. They didn't need it, because they just kind of like let that be a stinger, and that's all it was. And it introduced the idea at the end. It didn't make that the core idea of the movie. And when they did bring ESP back into the fold for 5, that is one of the most disliked movies in the whole franchise. I don't know what would pull him to that desire to bring that back. That movie is much maligned, even though I personally have a soft spot for it because I have nostalgia for it. But like we talked about this on our episode about that, and it's like, why are you pulling the worst elements of previous Halloween movies and to make a good Halloween movie? Like you see that, right? You see that you're pulling things from the past that didn't work, and you're trying to shine up the turds like they're not turds, but they were turds then and they're turds now.
Well, even to build off my idea, you know, I often harp on the fact that like Sherry Moon Zombie shouldn't be an actress. She's never been in any other film except for Rob Zombie's films. Nobody else will hire her. I remember I was listening back to the Halloween 1 episode, and you know, Cesar was trying to make this argument of what I mean, you know, Tim Burton works with Johnny Depp. It's like Johnny Depp is an actor in his own right. He gets films.
Yeah.
He's an actor. Sherry Moon Zombie is not. The only work that she gets is from her husband. But in the same way, building off that idea, Jeff Daniel Phillips, the scene that he's in, he's a character that's just introduced into a scene that has nothing to do with anything else. There's no reason for Michael Myers to go to this strip club. There's no reason for that guy to be in this film. He doesn't exist before. He doesn't exist after. He's just there for Jeff Daniel Phillips to have some lines. Also, too, Richard Brake. Richard Brake's character, okay, he sets up this whole introduction. It's a dream. Why the fuck is Laurie, if it's a dream, she should wake up in the hospital and be from Laurie's perspective.
Well,
why the fuck is Laurie dreaming about Richard Brake talking about raping corpses?
Well, that's a question I have.
Go ahead. I have a lot to say about both of those points. So I was confused as well, to be clear. Like the first time I watched it, I was like, where does the dream start exactly? It's confusing. Yes. And the reason it's confusing is because Rob Zombie sets up it like a very clear point where the dreaming should start, and it is when Laurie gets brought in the hospital. She is freaking the fuck out. They sedate her to do the surgeries. It makes sense that the dreaming would start as they put her under, but the next scene is about a bunch of like dipshits driving Michael's dead, allegedly corpse in an ambulance or whatever. But the dreaming, according to the commentary, that's the only reason I know this, is because he says a lot of people are confused by this, and I don't know why. It's like, dude, it's really fucking easy to understand why. But the dreaming is supposed to start when she wakes up in the hospital. That's when it starts.
See, that fucking hell. Yeah, no, that's not obvious at all. Like,
it's not.
To me, I was like so the entire like conversation with Buddy, the fucking whatever that actor, he's a very famous character actor, getting killed in the little booth outside of the hospital. Like, if you're gonna have a crazy dream sequence, like you have set a precedent where your dreamlike situations feel like dreams, because you have Sherry Moon Zombie and little Michael Myers walking around and all of these like very like comparatively avant-garde scenes. You are absolutely disguising the fuck out of these scenes in order to pull the rug. What do you mean you can't? You're confused as to why people don't get it. Like,
also,
what?
I don't like that being a dream does nothing to the story whatsoever, other than make you realize you wasted 20 minutes watching shit. Dude, doesn't matter. Well, it could have just existed.
That's the thing. Like, whether it's a dream or not, that scene is like overblown. Like, at least if it wasn't a dream, Richard Brake's cameo would make sense from the context of like, okay, so this is just a really shitty guy that's talking about this shit. He's a real piece of shit. But instead, it's Laurie's dream that is causing him to talk about her dead friends, or presumably dead friends' titties.
That's the point. It's not the dream.
It's not in the dream. It starts after that sequence.
See, this is why he's a terrible director. He's not good.
The order of events is confusing. And it's very obvious why it's confusing. I guess it's lost on him. I want to circle back to you were talking about the strip club, the rabbit in red.
Yes.
So it doesn't further the plot for him to return there, but that is where his mother worked. So if he's hung up on his family bullshit, maybe he's looking for his mom there or something. So I could see why he would return there. I think it's a cool set piece because the rabbit in red was referenced in the original Halloween. We never see it. I think it's cool to actually have Michael go there and be able to witness it. And also there's a lot of extremely brutal killings, which is it goes to a point where it's unnecessary, but I do appreciate the brutality that Michael brings to this movie. You feel it, man. When he kills somebody, you feel it.
That is one of the things I do like about this movie. Is like,
They-
I mean, that's all
he
of
does
them are hit or
cop
miss, even
out
the best
quite a
ones.
few times with several of the and kind of more important kills.
I don't know. Like, to me, I feel like some of the brutality that they don't really. You're right that it's not consistent, but there's quite a few kills in here that are like they're reasonably brutal. And if you're gonna bring nothing else to this movie, I'm glad he brought that. You know what I mean? I'm glad
Yeah.
he brought that sensibility. But and I also kind of like. I tend to be a little bit on the fence about critiquing the going to the strip club for the reasons Bob said, but also because like Halloween movies, man, like they go wherever they fucking go. There's so many inconsequential kills in this franchise that I'm not. It'd be disingenuous for me to ding that in particular on an elevated level from any other movie where they've done that same shit.
Well, they are, but also just showing the way of like, I guess Michael, it shows him in one shot of him wandering the streets when it's Halloween, when kids are trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
But I guess his movement, and you're right, like he goes where he goes, but it makes it seem like it has a purpose. For instance, he shows up at the Halloween party to kill one of Laurie's friends as if he somehow knows Laurie is there or is he's tracking her, and yet ends up at her house before her than to kill another one of her friends. It's just
He's quick.
He's a quick one.
So it really just Rob Zombie isn't creating some type of narrative where, it would make sense for, at least to have him tracking her, following where she is going and leaving this path of destruction where she has been, but that he doesn't do that.
It's all over the place.
That's how most of them
wandering.
go. And it's the thing. You're totally right. Like, where he is inconsequential, but for some reason, like this movie has sincere interest in some of the nuts and bolts of how he works, but not all of it. Like the fast travel, doesn't care about that. Shit like that. You're totally right about that. I don't ding it too hard for where it goes necessarily, but I would agree that like it kind of ruins things on a different level if you're trying to humanize your character, give them like a severe pathos that like explains how he's able to do so much but doesn't fully explain it, and then to like add on top of that more magical elements that aren't explained at all. Like it just disservices
it's contradictory
everything.
for sure. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I do want to praise one thing though, because that Halloween party was a great Halloween party.
It was. I will say that
I
was
really
like
enjoyed
probably the
feeling
biggest
of it.
positive of it. The costumes were fun.
The costumes are great.
Yeah.
The band on stage is called Captain Clegg and the Night Creatures, I believe, which is a fictional band, but Rob Zombie did produce like an entire record for that fictitious band, and it's on Spotify. There's like a dozen songs or whatever, and he also made like 8 to 10 music videos for some of that music. That's a bonus feature on the disc. So that is like a cool thing to come out of this movie. Some neat Halloween music, and that party. There's actually a handful of cool set pieces in this movie that Michael Myers like sort of works his way through and just murders folks. I really do enjoy the Halloween's. I keep saying the hospital sequence. Even though it turns out to be a dream and is kind of lame. And then of course the rabbit in red sequence I think is a really cool set piece, and then this like giant ass Halloween party is super fucking cool too. And even the little shack at the end I think is like a neat thing. It just what happens there is kind of nonsense.
Why do you don't think that's just a straight, complete 100% ripoff of Jason Voorhees and Friday the 13th?
I mean, I guess it is, but I mean, I don't know. He's a hobo. He's got to find somewhere to be living for the past couple years. It's a shack. He doesn't
have to live where he takes her. He could have done everything he did at the Strode house. He could have done it at the Brackett house. He could have done it at the party upstairs in a loft. Like,
talking to your dead mom's ghost in a shack as a giant unkillable killer. I mean, Jesus Christ.
When you put it that way, it's
I guess. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
I mean,
God,
I couldn't get that out of my head. And also too, like something that Randy touched on earlier, and part of just the whole frustration of this is, I'll make the first point for it. It's just, I made a note. The amount of times the word fuck is used in this film, it's embarrassing. It's And a
What are you
lot
fucking
of
talking
the
about?
and a lot of the problems I have with watching this is I have constant like cringe face. Like even in the pieces that are good, there's something that just makes me just clinch. Like and just it's unbearable. And the thing is Rob said this 5 years ago. So after this movie, of course, was released, and the only movie that that Zombie had not released at that time was the 3 from Hell or whatever, which I heard Rob absolutely hated. I haven't seen it
It's
myself.
bad.
Yeah. Rob said in his critique of Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2007, of every Rob Zombie movie has the same problems. He builds no matter what kind of cool stuff that he's got. Okay. It's like building a mansion on a pile of trash in a dump. Okay. Even if it looks good enough, you would never want to live there or go visit your friends there because it's filled with fucking garbage, shitty diapers, and rotting food. This man cannot write dialogue. He hires the same actors and actresses who cannot deliver a fucking line. Rob said this 7 years ago or 5 years ago. All of his movies are built on the same flaws. And so even in saying like, oh, he's trying to experiment in this, he's trying to give us this fresh version. I don't agree with that. But even if he was, he's not good. He is not a good writer. He is not a good director. And it's boring to talk about the same fucking problems movie after movie after movie. It's fucking boring because it's the same shit every time.
It's like, yeah. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I do generally stand by that statement. I don't know. I think he is interjecting some new ideas into the Halloween franchise in this movie. I think largely the ideas are interesting to me, but he does not pull them off. And the reason that he doesn't pull them off is because he makes the same mistakes that he makes in all of his other movies. For sure, I agree with that.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, it's like I agree with pretty much all of that. I just don't I don't see anything that he does as being particularly inventive. I can see that he is taking a swing because he's doing like it's a swing in that he's pulling shit out of the dustbin of Halloween franchise history and other movies franchises and like trying to make something new. And that is what creation is. You know, that is what creativity is. It's like pulling things out of the dustbin and like trying to piece them together. But these were not things that needed a tune-up to make them work. They didn't work to begin with. And the reason they didn't work is because this movie is like the franchise, the killer. His effectiveness is predicated on the fact that you don't know why he's doing anything. You just know that he wants to fucking murder you. And he is strong as shit. Like, that is it. That's all you need.
I think there are some decent performances here. I mean, some of the character actors definitely are just hired, I think, because Rob Zombie likes them.
You can tell who's an actor and who isn't.
Yeah. But like
Danielle Harris is always good. Brad Dourif is
exactly.
good. Like, he's fucking good actor.
I think she does a good job here. Brad Dourif, I think is hit or miss. Personally,
I think he's pretty good in this. As far as
the scene where he finds Annie dead,
dude,
he like caterwaulers. They should have been cut down a little bit.
Dude, I wrote like that was another just cringe moment. I was just like,
rough,
I didn't cringe at that. No,
really?
that hit me fine. I don't think I remember it as being particularly like one of his shining moments, but it didn't bother me. Ooh. I guess like the thing is like we're desensitized at that point by all of the like what we would consider like fucking hot topic circa 2000s chattering that happens all around it. Like the man cannot steer clear of doing like the most 15-year-old boy vernacular that he can possibly find for any given character. It's self-insertion on an incredible scale, and he tones that down a little bit this time. But
I think Annie is like a relatively well-written character. I think Brad Dourif, Sheriff Brackett's character, is relatively well-written.
That whole contingent is the best written group.
Her Scout Compton, I think, is given the worst dialogue here, and she's just like she goes from 0 to 100 as she plays Laurie. She plays Lori.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And like
Oh,
we
God.
don't see the transition into her like breaking down. Like we find her totally broken, and she just gets like one extra crack that throws her over the edge at the end.
Dude,
It's
I
like,
don't know, man.
I think she does a good. I think she does a good job of what she's been given, but she's not given much.
The thing is, yeah, I agree with that, and it's because like, but you can see what she's given and the seams of what she's given, because from scene to scene, the inconsistency of her state of mind is not attributable to having a hard life or like having like some emotional turmoil or even drinking. She goes from one scene like having a full scale panic attack at this Halloween party, and her friend takes her out, and like hard cut to her laughing her ass off getting into the car. It's like fucking
weird. Yeah,
it's not even like it makes it difficult to follow, and that's one of the major things that Rob's is failing at in this movie. And the other one is like the way he places the camera. It can look good as an individual shot, but then he'll like break some fucking like some parallel, or he'll like shaky cam your ass to the point where you have no idea where the fuck you are. Like there's a lot of, it's hard to find a sense of place in this movie, and like that does not help anything.
How, just sort of running down some of the performances here, how do you guys feel about Tyler Mane as Michael Myers in this?
Oh damn! We need we need to talk about Loomis at some point. But
we do. Yeah,
that's a whole conversation I'm holding on to.
So
yes.
a note that I made about that guy being Michael Myers. You know, in the first one I said, you know, if you're gonna have a Rob Zombie film, you're gonna say I'm gonna make a grittier Michael Myers. I think it's a cool, somewhat idea to make him big and hulking. Here's the problem with this film, though. The problem with making him huge is it's so unbelievable that so many people would constantly trash talk him. Zombie wants to have his cake and eat it too. Okay, so he wants to have this hulking, imposing Michael Myers. And he had this in the first one too, where people just think they're just gonna fucking stomp Michael Myers' ass, despite mentioning that he's like fucking 7 feet tall. It's so dumb because you see Rob Zombie wants this hulking giant Michael Myers, but he also wants people to say stupid shit trying to be badass so that they can justify beating somebody down.
I already sent somebody to the hospital tonight.
Yeah, it's just so stupid. Yeah, why would that character, being faced with this giant man in the isolated parking lot, start trash talking Michael Myers? Dude. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
And the thing is, like, there's dumb characters like that littering the streets of Haddonfield in every movie, basically. Yeah. But you're right that, like, when you also add the bigness, it makes it harder to swallow, I guess, a little bit. And it's just, the thing is, like, a lot of the sins of these movies are not that dissimilar to the sins of other poor entries into this franchise, but they seem worse to me because I am, like Justin, constantly cringing at the attempts at humanity that are put into this thing. Not talking about like humanity in the form of like, oh, he's got a psychosis where his mom shows up with a white horse. No, not that. I'm talking about like the moments where people are just trying to be people. Like they all seem so fucking forced in a way that even the most fucking like tin sounding dialogue in other movies from this franchise seem to not have the same level of problem. It's just that problem combined with like, I don't know, like 15-year-old boy brain is like just an awful combination.
He's 16 now.
In some ways, it kind of makes me. I truly mean this. I'm not trying to be a dick. In some ways, it kind of makes me feel bad to watch these movies because I start to kind of pity Rob Zombie, knowing that he's written these movies. I start to feel like, does he not know what human beings are? Like, does he not know?
I just think he's surrounded in his whole life by people who cater to his particular way of speaking, or who generally just he just kind of like has similar
complete,
and he applies that to the
white
world.
Trash, because he also another tendency that he does is to make people that should at least be somewhat likable. They don't have to be like, you know, golden angels or anything, but somewhat likable. He always makes them unbearably like cruel or obnoxious. And I just have to think to myself, like, is this his life? Is this what he's
No.
surrounded by?
I
just
highly doubt it.
it
And that's not, when you listen
sucks.
to him in interviews, like that's not even how he speaks. It's just, I don't know, I can't explain it. But to your point, making everybody a piece of shit, like Lori has this giant character arc that we don't see happen, I guess, in the 2 year span time jump or whatever, where she's a piece of shit because of what she survived. Also, Loomis was always kind of a piece of shit. He's an even bigger piece of shit now. Let's go ahead and get into this. So he writes a
Yes, let's
book
get into
about
Loomis.
everything. He's doing like a book tour, and he just doesn't give a good fuck about anybody. He's in it for the money.
Evil.
He's in it for the fucking money, son. And he's unbearable. Also, like so Michael Myers, after the ambulance crashes, the body vanishes. Nobody finds the body, but he is so fucking adamant that Michael is dead. Just won't accept the fact that maybe he's alive. It doesn't make sense.
Loomis, as a character in this film, is a character that did not have any direction, and Rob Zombie did not know what to do with him. That is pure and simple, undisputable opinion, in my opinion. Like, I just don't see, like, how can you say that this meandering subplot of him meeting Weird Al and fucking Hardwick on a show and getting in arguments with his press secretary about how he's like, oh, I'm selling the sizzle, not the steak. Like, making him as big of a piece of shit as possible. And the ultimate thing that happens because of that is he walks into the shack at the end of the movie and gets cut up and killed, or thrown through a wall and killed. And it's like, even if he's not killed, this is like, maybe, and this is the most generous thing I can think of for this character. Maybe he had some sort of idea for this being Loomis's failing movie, and then assumed that he'd have a third movie to which he could right his former wrongs. I will say that insane, craven Loomis is not like it's not the huge jump that we want to think it is. Everybody loves Loomis because he's such a fucking clutch character in several of these movies. But then, like, Halloween 5, he is maybe like even more of a dog shit person than in this one.
But then you're talking about Halloween 5. I mean, for the
if
most
we're gonna be
part,
in the dirt, let's dig in the dirt.
Well,
I love that movie, but it's a
well, no,
movie.
I'm not saying, but I'm talking about at that point, in the same kind of way they've had to stretch the franchise out, they have to stretch this character out and start giving him things to do. And so by time you get to Halloween 5, then he starts to become a bigger piece of shit. Yeah, this is Rob Zombie's second movie, and
he's jumping right in full fucking force.
Yeah, and this is a huge critique.
Territory.
Yeah, this is a huge critique that I had for Halloween 1, which is these characters are not these characters. Lori, I remember from the very first one being like just ultra vulgar, talking like Rob Zombie.
Finger in the bagel.
Yeah, that's not Lori. This is not Loomis. He has this one line: "When I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you." And I wrote, why would Loomis talk like that? He doesn't. Yeah. That's not fucking
He's a child
Loomis.
Psychiatrist.
This is Rob Zombie just projecting some unknown character and slapping the name Loomis.
You're right,
him.
Actually. I wonder if this was like his stand-in for like studio interference or some shit. Like this was his like fuck you to some producer, some actor, somebody that did him dirty or he didn't like.
I like the idea of having Loomis write a book and like doing a book tour, but I think he would write it from a place of like truly trying to like educate the public or something like that. And then as he's going on the tour, the girl's dad shows up with a gun to try and kill him, and then the character has a turn and a realization at that point, and we see growth in Loomis. But no, he's just starts as a piece of shit and always is a piece of shit.
Yeah, an exploitative piece of shit.
Yeah.
But he's also not the same piece of shit he was in the first one, because I think the Loomis from Zombies Halloween 1 would do what you said. I think he eventually morphed into this thing that does not care about any of the people involved. Like he's out here like blasting everybody involved, people he worked directly with, who helped him save lives, who he helped save, like, and he's gonna like talk shit about Brackett. He's gonna talk shit about like offhandedly, as if he doesn't know the intricate details of this whole story that he wrote a goddamn book about and dedicated his life to.
He knows
Why
Michael
are you talking about
anybody.
this way? Exactly. Like not only are you not Like, is a missing body not a concern for you? But also, like, just like the absolute contempt he shows for everybody, and then he shows back. It's like he's like the worst case scenario Gale Weathers in this movie, and I don't understand that.
I was gonna say that. I was
yeah.
like, this is just another ripoff of another horror franchise of Scream. It's just like, oh, I gotta have something to do with this character. Let's just rip off Scream.
It's
Let's
like
rip
Gale
off
Weathers
Friday
without
the
the
13th.
morality.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just, oh my god. That's why I don't see the original. The ideas that are injected into this, they might be unique for the Halloween franchise, but I just see it as piecemeal other horror franchises trying to plod through this sequel. And here's my thing why I like Halloween 1 better. At the end of Halloween 1, Laurie shoots Michael Myers. And I always said, if you're making a gritty Halloween, if you really want to pull the rug, if you want to subvert people's expectations, you want to introduce the idea of Michael Myers being a kid, okay, that's fine. Show him as a kid, his psychosis, going through that process. And then Laurie, shoots and kills him in the end. That at least makes your remake unique. I don't know how much better it would have made it, but it would have made it kind of like Rob Zombies. This just feels like yet another cash grab, add lore to Michael Myers that's bullshit. It doesn't seem special in any way, and it's even worse because Rob Zombie's so terrible within himself. So not only is it the normal sequel cash grab, it's littered with Rob Zombie shit.
His sensibilities and his, like, the thing is, like, he has some good craft involved. Like, it's easy to tell, like, there is some, not a ton certainly, but like there is some he's able to get shots that are lit beautifully, or like he's able to get but then he'll immediately follow that. Yeah, but if it's not the dialogue that's confusing or cringy, it's the camera work. And if it's not, there's always at least one thing that's just gnawing at you in any given scene. Just about every scene is like this, where there's just constantly just like a little pitter patter of something is fucked up here, if not a loud clamor of him doing some dumb shit. I personally, like I said earlier, I'm of the mind, like, everything is built out of something. Nobody comes with an idea fully formed out of nothing. That's not a thing. But at the same time, like, there are ways there are things that he's adding to this movie that I could understand being enchanted by and wanting to explore, but he does it poorly. And the thing is, for this franchise, it's just a bad move. Choose a different franchise, make your own franchise, and do that.
Rob Zombie made the first Halloween movie. He never wanted to make a sequel, but it made so much money. The studio said they were going to make a sequel to his movie with or without him. So he very reluctantly agreed to make it.
That is the John Carpenter story.
That's why I think this one's
maintain control, or some level of control. So he made this movie and never wanted to make a third. The studio released it with the intention of making Halloween 3D with or without Rob Zombie, but this one didn't make enough money for them to say, fuck you, we're just going to do it anyways. So the third one never happened. So this wasn't like him being stoked to make a sequel necessarily.
That's why I do think the first one is better. At least it has the direction he wanted to go. Did he achieve it? In some ways, maybe, but also, like, I want to say it like one more time because it always comes up. Cesar said it before, Randy, and I recognize it too. Cesar kept saying it over and over last time. Oh, Rob Zombie, he's a good director. He just shouldn't write it. But it's like, okay, he can set up some shots, but again, if somebody built a beautiful mansion in the middle of a fucking dump on shit, would you?
It's a shit mansion.
You would say that's foolish. You're a damn fool. Like, why would you? Why would you do that?
I don't think that's I think the metaphor, if I may amend it for my own purposes.
Sure.
If you're going to build a mansion, then you have all these beautiful ideas of rooms and like what you want to build with or whatever. And you have a budget that is like 20% of what you need to achieve what you have, and the know-how of your cast and crew and yourself is 20% of what you actually need to accomplish it, and you're building things instead of with wood beams with PVC pipe, and you're doing like it's like that episode of The Simpsons where they try to rebuild Ned's house and there's load-bearing posters on the wall.
It just
That
gets
is
small.
what that is the that's the level of thing that I'm talking about here.
Also in
they
the
can
dump.
occasionally there's a really good like doorway built, or a really good, oh wow, this is a spacious room, but that does not conceal the fucking the dirt coming up from the floor, the fact that it's spray painted. Like,
Oh, Ray and
there's-
do for all your contracting needs here.
I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like, it seems like a
Yeah.
lot of gusto with not a ton of know-how, but just enough to trick me into thinking like, okay, well, they're like not even really trick, just like show like he has some capabilities, but not enough to make a movie. Period. In my opinion.
Yeah, I do think he's trying his best to get out of the horror genre, and just no one will give money to do it. And I think he has some talent. He's not the most talented fucking director in the world. Let's be honest. He has some talent though. Let's just chalk it up to that.
The thing is, like, I don't mind if he makes movies either. That's the thing. It's like any movie
Yeah.
made is a miracle. Like, it can be as dog shit as you want. But these are two major budget movies, and there's no
Yeah.
reason that somebody couldn't have stopped in to be like, hey, why don't you not do some of these things? Like,
Ray and Do said Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is a miracle. You heard it here, folks.
any
Everybody
fucking
heard
movie
it here.
made is a miracle.
I know.
The Bear
I
Ones
know what you mean.
Project.
I know what you
Even
mean.
the fucking worst movie you can think of, even the worst movie we've reviewed, even the ones that make me pissed off, like Halloween 1.
Are there any major points you guys want to touch on that we have not yet?
I'm
It's
going
just
through my
one
notes really quick.
Okay. And of
Why
course,
that
if,
piece of shit lied, I don't know.
I
Thank
don't
you.
know. I don't know.
No, I'll just read
yeah.
off some of these.
Yeah, I think we hit on most of the major stuff. So let's go and rate this thing out of 5. Juice, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2?
This movie is terrible, and it's made terrible more from the fact, there's some bad Halloween sequels. I'm not going to pretend that there's not, but at least I can go back to Resurrection. At least there's some entertainment value for me there. I can laugh at it. People are actors, and not all of them, not all of them,
Not all of them.
but some people are real actors. The thing is
Do you think this is worse than Halloween Resurrection?
yeah, I would
Okay.
I would rather watch Halloween Resurrection.
I agree with that statement.
Okay,
I don't necessarily think it's a better made movie than this, though.
No.
I mean,
I
but part of
agree.
that is like
From-
entertainment value, though.
It's
the
two different questions.
machinations.
Yeah.
I don't think that Resurrections was made with any sort of artistic intent whatsoever.
well, yeah,
No,
but
this-
does it
for better or for
entertain
worse.
me as a
Yes,
film?
I
I mean,
agree.
a
You can-
film
you can laugh
should
at it,
a
yeah.
film should entertain me. I'm gonna watch a film to at
Just-
least be intrigued or like something, and I don't get anything out of this movie except pissed off. That's it. I don't find it intriguing. I don't
Okay.
find it entertaining. I don't find it beautiful. I don't find it like I just
5
I
stars.
look like this. I go like
Like you're taking a shit
cringe face,
in
yeah.
the fucking grotto.
Cringe
You're taking a
face,
shit
and
in my grotto.
And I just get so pissed off that Rob Zombie keeps making movies because he can't. He just can't. So here's my review. Thank you, everyone, for getting in on my time. Rob.
This is my time.
it's
not
my
yours.
review.
Continue.
Again, Rob Zombie should have been in his movie with Lori killing him, and then what can they? I guess they could bring him back, but whatever. Richard Brake, woof. Like, if that's gonna set the tone. Also, Rob Zombie has to start this movie with a quote explaining his dumb concept. Because he cannot naturally work it in because it makes no fucking sense, and he actually doesn't do anything with it. He sets this up like, I'm going to give you this horse and I'm going to walk this horse around. It's so dumb. It doesn't even do anything. It's terrible. It's fucking terrible. Again, the language, again, the amount of times the word fuck is used, it's fucking embarrassing. But that's a perpetual problem with this man. He cannot write dialogue. It still remains the same here. All these characters, they just shouldn't have the name of the Halloween characters. They're not them. They're Rob Zombie's terribly written characters that he slaps other people's names onto. It's bad. Yeah, also too, a lot of things just don't make sense. Like, these men are willing to beat a man essentially to death, yet they're rolling in their hunting band. Why don't they just shoot him then? They're gonna go out there and beat him to death and shoot him then. People trash talking huge ass Michael Myers. What the fuck? It's just the positives. Here's the positives. The Halloween party looks like fun. That looks like a fun Halloween party to go to. On another thing too that we didn't, like, Rob kind of mentioned it, the hospital scene is cool. Like, or it looks, if he had made a sequel that just was a remake of the second one, while I would probably critique there's no original ideas in here, or it's not that particularly interesting, that worked. You know why? Because he didn't have to write it. He just had to make it look good and make it brutal. And, you know, that probably would have ended up a very medium kind of film, 2, maybe 2.5 at best, if he could have just reined in his terrible writing. But that was like the best part of the movie to me. Someone else's movie is the hospital scene. And then, but I just got so pissed off when he's like, no, that's not the movie I'm going to give you. Here's my shit. It's terrible. He can't write. He cannot write. If he has to make somebody else's vision, maybe he can do okay. He doesn't. I hate this director. I think everything he makes is shit. I truly cannot understand why people enjoy his craft. I can understand if it's a personal thing to me. Like, I just don't get why this guy gets any praise at all. Not even like a little bit. He's terrible. This movie's terrible. I'm going to give it 5 or no.
5 stars.
I'm going to give it 0.5 stars, and then 0.5 for the cool intro scene. Also a little bit of Halloween party. And then 0.5 star for Yabo, so he's gonna get a 1 star out of me.
1
based
star
on my
juice.
code, just because I'm an
Man's
honorable
got-
man.
Yeah, that really shows with that particular review.
Totally honorable juice.
All right, Bob,
man.
give us your spiel.
All right. Yeah, this movie is not particularly good. I think the white horse being injected in this movie is nonsense. It really doesn't add up to mean anything. And when I threw on the commentary, one of the things Rob Zombie said really just confirmed that. I guess they were on set filming this movie one day, and he saw a wild horse running through a field and was very impacted by, I guess, how majestic it looked or whatever, and decided that Michael would be gifted this toy horse, and then that would somehow play a part in the movie, so that I guess he could have a horse in it because they look cool. I don't know. It didn't really mean much in the movie, and it really does show. Also, in that same scene where we see a child Michael at the very beginning of the movie, he's got his horse, he's talking to his mom, Sherry Moon's playing his mom, and child Michael Myers is tickled by his mother. You do not ever want to see Michael Myers be tickled, regardless of age. It's just a rough way to start this movie. And then it does get kind of cool with the hospital sequence there. And then for some reason, it's a dream. It doesn't matter at all. The first 25 minutes basically are a write-off, which is really frustrating, especially because the movie's 2 fucking hours long. Like, why did we watch it? Why isn't it just like fact? Why didn't it really happen? It doesn't make sense. I don't hate the idea, like I said, of this sort of like a psychic connection between Laurie and Michael. I do think there's a better way to do it. You don't ever want to know what Michael is thinking. You don't ever want to know what Michael is seeing. Just have it go by way of Laurie, and as she breaks down and becomes more like Michael, then we get a bigger look into her psychosis and what she's seeing and why she's doing what she's doing and why she's freaking out. And have it happen gradually. Have it have us actually relate to a character that's struggling and like show us why that's happening. Have real characters, like actual characters. You know, there's ideas that can work in this, just like Loomis with his book tour and shit. There's an arc that could happen there, but no, he's just a piece of shit from go and just stays that way. You could have a really great Loomis arc, but it just doesn't happen, which is frustrating. Also, the like dream sequences are like, there's some neat imagery in there, but it just does not jive with a Halloween movie whatsoever. And to that like sort of aesthetic, like there's no like Michael lurking in the background anywhere. There's no atmosphere building in this movie. There's no subtlety, like, you know, him following Laurie and her friends around and we witnessing that, and like us knowing he's there but them not knowing, builds tension. There's none of that whatsoever. There's just like, you know, no threat, or Michael is up in your face murdering the shit out of you and your friends, and the cam is shaking like a motherfucker when that's happening, which drives me nuts. It makes the kill sequences far less scary when the camera is shaking so violently that you can't actually see the violence that's happening on screen. And I think it also just sort of lends itself to a certain a lack of confidence. Like, let the camera linger, let the actors act, let the appliances work, you know, and light it correctly so that you don't see the strings, so to speak. Have confidence in the people that you're employing, you know, and just let the camera sit. That's what makes those sequences terrifying in the original Halloween, and even in some of the sequels, but definitely not in this one. Michael Myers speaking should never happen. I actually don't mind that we see his face in this movie, because in a lot of the sequels, the characters in the movie see his face, but it's always blurred. The audience doesn't really get much of a good look of his face most of the time. I don't mind seeing his face in this movie, but he should never speak. It's not the character whatsoever. I like his strength, his brutality. He flips a fucking car, which is just absolute insanity. I kind of think that's neat. There's some cool set pieces, like I already mentioned. There's some solid kills. It just is, it's sort of scattershot and all over the place, and ultimately is not a great sequel, but I do find it more entertaining than his original film. I'll go ahead and cut myself off there. I'll give this a 1.5 out of 5. Randu, how do you feel about Rob Zombie's Halloween Deuce?
I really want to be fair to this movie, because not only because, you know, it's what we should be doing, but also because somebody, Jacqueline, requested this movie, and I know that a lot of people love this movie, and I don't want to like be so shallow as to want to like shit all over those people's love. I don't want to do that. I want to
like
give it a
me.
fair shake. I mean, like
Right.
we already have. I just need that disclaimer in there, because this is not this is not out of malice towards anybody. And if you get something out of this movie, we love you anyway. It doesn't matter. You can make those mistakes if you want. So look, here's the deal. This movie and Halloween 1, like, I had some real back and forth with myself watching the sequel here. And the back and forth was largely contingent on, okay, I've heard from so many people that this is so much worse than Halloween 1. Let's see if that holds water. And up until, oh man, around the time when Laurie started seeing the Force ghost of Michael's mom, her mom, I guess, in this, saying the same shit that is apparently happening in Michael Myers' head. As soon as the ESP took on like physical form in that climax, I was like, okay, I was willing to give it the benefit of the doubt and say, like, maybe Halloween 1 is worse, because it's actually shitting on the franchise actively, in my opinion. Like, it's making like a huge tactical error in its approach, and it's like really like shitting the bed with, and like making a mockery of this thing that I really like, in my opinion. In this one, they kind of like dodged it by way of it being like just a meandering, doesn't know what it's doing sequel. But between that and like Loomis, like, it really does enter the same territory. It really does shit on like the original characters and all those things. And I don't think that anything that is added is needed or wanted, in my opinion. Like everything, I will give him the credit for, taking a kind of a swing. I just don't think he's a capable guy to take those swings, and I don't think that those swings add anything from what I've seen from any director that I've seen so far. Nope, nothing. None of this stuff really adds anything to the scariness of a dude staring at you from across the way, and then finding your friends dead, and then having to save your kids you're babysitting from this guy who just wants to kill you for no reason, is wearing a mask, you can't even see his humanity. That's all that it needs. It's all that it needs. We don't need any more fucking Halloween movies. We don't need anything. We just need that movie to still continue to be as good as it is. That's all it needs to be. And I'm just so fucking tired, man. I'm glad that we finished up this fucking franchise. I love Halloween. I've even some of the bad ones I really love. But like Justin, I find this one and Halloween 1 to be impenetrable in terms of enjoyment. It's not that I can watch a movie that has a strong ethos but is unenjoyable because it's leaning so hard into that and expecting so much from its audience. But this spoon feeds drivel to the mouths of all of us, and it still can't land its fucking thing. It still has nothing of nutritional value to it. So I just fucking can't stand it on that level. I for a long time, like I said, I was debating whether or not Halloween 1 was worse. I think this one and Halloween 1 just equally suck. It's my feeling. And I don't enjoy them. It feels like the first pass of a script written with stand-in copy that fucking Rob Zombie or somebody just offhandedly said to somebody, a stenographer who's sitting there writing down what he thinks should happen next. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any refinement process here. The best thing about this movie is the Halloween party, the interplay between Laurie, Brad Dourif, and Danielle Harris. I think that little like family unit was actually felt somewhat like real people. The inclusion of people like Richard Brake do nothing for me in general, but certainly not in this movie. This movie just does not really know what it's doing. I honestly just don't think that there is a lot of capability here, and what capability is there is largely squandered on terrible ideas. So it's a 1.5 movie for me, but I have discovered something interesting, which is that I
Randy.
apparently have a code as well.
Oh
and
boy.
my code is that you always give a half star for the Weird Al cameo. So that's a 2-star film.
Whoa.
2 stars from Randu. Look at that. Wow.
Rated at the highest.
That's going to put our
Wow.
aggregate at
I'm weird.
a 1.5 there. So Jacqueline did pick this movie for us to review. And what we've been doing this year is, if you do grab a you pick, we encourage you to send an email or a voicemail with your own rating and review for the movie that you choose for us to talk about. Jacqueline sent us over a voicemail. So let's go ahead and hear what she thinks about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Quick cut out note here. I didn't know which one was Jacqueline, so I may play the wrong one. So we're gonna have to cut this part if that happens. And you're gonna have to cut this anyway because I said that.
I will now,
There we go.
yes.
3, 2.
Yeah, this is you again.
Nope.
I think it was the
Man.
newest one. I think she just
What up,
called.
boy?
Yeah, okay. Okay, I found it. Here we go.
The process of elimination.
I think I found it. 3, 2.
What up, boy?
What
It's
the
your
fuck?
boy, Hy.
Okay. So maybe I just don't have it? Did I download
It
this?
was like
the
the newest.
most recent.
Yeah, it was the newest.
Okay,
one.
that's what happened. Okay, I'm just gonna play it off of the browser.
Okay.
3, 2.
Hey guys, it's Jacqueline. Thanks for doing my U pick this week, covering Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I feel a little bad that I made you guys watch this, but not that bad. So I'll do my best to give you my review in under 3 minutes. So with Halloween 2, it feels like, well, with Halloween 1, it feels like Rob Zombie really wanted to put his own stamp on a classic that he clearly loves. And whether you love it or hate it, what he did with it, it is a Halloween movie nonetheless, and it does add to the Michael Myers lore. But with Halloween 2, I get the sense that he had done his Halloween movie and kind of wanted to move on, but maybe Universal offered him a ton of money or whatever to do the sequel, and just he couldn't refuse. I don't know. But as a result, this movie feels really schizophrenic to me. Like, he's paying lip service to the Halloween franchise, but then is also adding in so much other stuff of his own that he really wanted to put in an original movie, but he kind of maybe got stuck doing this one. This is the sense I get anyway. So stuff like Michael's visions of his mother, which aesthetically I think look really cool and dark and have a definite Rob Zombie flavor, but they don't make any sense within the context of the story. Like her telling him to go have fun, presumably killing people, are totally at odds with what we know of her character from the first movie. And she's saying like, it's almost Halloween, bring us home, Michael. No, it doesn't belong in this movie. It just doesn't make sense. Laurie's character arc is not convincing at all, and I don't know if it's her dialogue that's horrible or her acting or both, but watching her is super cringy either way. She suddenly has this fuck the world attitude, which of course you're going to be changed as a person after a horrible trauma, but we don't see any of that transformation in her. Just starting with this movie, it's all of a sudden she's a different person, so we don't see her like going down that dark path. I hate that you hear Michael grunting when he kills people and then you see his face. That's not okay, obviously. Things I do like about this movie, the violence is brutal and what you would expect of a Rob Zombie movie if, you know, your score is what you want. I always love Danielle Harris and Malcolm McDowell in anything. You might hate Malcolm McDowell in this, but I still like his character and he has an interesting arc. And Brad Dourif as the sheriff is maybe my favorite part. He's lovable, but he's also pitiable because we see how a horrible mistake he made in the past comes back to haunt him. So anyway, overall, it's a mess, but there are at least a couple things to like about it. So I give it 1.5 out of 5 stars. So again, now you guys are done with the whole franchise. I'm glad you covered it. I can't wait to hear you rip it apart, which I'm sure you will.
And that's the end.
Yeah. Perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks, Jacqueline. Thanks for helping us wrap up the franchise. We have covered the entire franchise for 3 weeks until they release a new fucking Halloween movie, and then we won't have.
I think that's super interesting about her take on Laurie, like being like sort of schizophrenic or whatever. Like I understand why they wanted to go that direction with the character, but what bothered me is that not that she like had this sudden change, it's that she kind of always sucked. Like the first movie, she's not that fucking different. She's just sadder in this movie. Like I think she starts from a like she's sadder and she has more metal posters on her wall. That's about it.
Yep. Alice Cooper 666 spray painted all over the place.
Yeah, it's like oh, she's edgier now aesthetically, but I don't think I don't think there's much you could do to out edge talking about like getting molested to your father by using a bagel as a prop. I think that's pretty fucking dark.
Yeah.
Zombies.
Could have been an interesting arc, but
come on to our show, defend yourself, Rob Zombie. Okay.
Oh yeah.
You think we're wrong?
I'm sure that's going to go super good. As long as we can get John Carpenter
shit
on as well, it should be fine.
Call me.
I don't think that John will protect us.
Why that piece of shit lied, I don't know.
I don't know.
That piece of shit. You heard it from Carpenter himself.
Actually, he'll probably tear our assholes apart too. So
I'm sure. I'm sure.
We have a respectable show, okay?
Somebody respects it, maybe. Thanks for picking this week's flick, Jacqueline. We really do appreciate it. Let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about Rob Zombie's Halloween Deuce.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment of our show in which I'm going to have these gentlemen guess to the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, 2009. We're going to start, as we always do, with the critic score. And I'm going to start with Juice today. I think I started with Bob last week, so excuse me. There are 81 critic reviews here. 81, not a massive sample size by any means. Why don't you tell me, Juice, what you think those 81 critics thought of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2?
I don't remember what Halloween was, but in general, we've covered a couple Rob Zombie films, and I don't think the critics go soft on this guy. I don't think he's a man of the critics. I think people are willing to kind of call him out for his terrible craft. So I'm going to take it pretty low. We've seen some Halloween. We've covered them all now. We've seen them go pretty low, but I don't think it's going to be in the teens. I think the lowest we ever had was like 13. So I'll go like double that. 26.
Oh wow. How generous.
Ugh.
Bob, where do you fall in that 26%? Above,
Dude,
below, somewhere else?
I think this is like crazy rock bottom low. Like I'm wondering if it's in the single digits, to be honest. Um
How strongly are you feeling that is the question.
I know that's the question. I'll wager a safer bet than going that low. I think it's lower than Juice here. I want $1 and I'll just go with a 20.
20. If I'm doing let me do my math right because I think
we broke Randy's brain.
I think you did. It's a 23%, which I believe puts it dead center of both of you.
We finished the franchise. And
that's
the show
happened one other time. That's happened one other time
on your
where it was
big
like
special
Rob
win.
didn't do, or one of us didn't do a $1. We did like a $2 and it ended up being in the middle.
We're dead
Dude,
center.
but this is like
That's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like,
whoa,
damn.
boys.
Wow.
We all win today when we talk about Rob Zombie.
Yeah,
we all win.
Keeping the beat.
all right, let's move along. This is the audience score. There were over 250,000 audience reviews. Excuse me, Bob. Why don't you start us off? What do you think the audience thinks of this film?
That's the best bump I think you've ever had. Audience definitely gonna be higher. Still not very high though. I'll go with a 32.
32 percentile. All right, Juice. What about you? You gonna hit that dead center again?
32. I don't. Well, man, Jacqueline likes Rob Zombie, and even she couldn't give it too high. 32. Yeah, that's probably a pretty good guess. I think it's gonna be a little higher. I'll say 35.
35. All right. Unfortunately, there is not a 7-10 split happening here. Juice is going to take this one 44%.
No,
44% positive.
That's a somewhat victory,
which is not a good score.
Moral victory. I mean, not a moral victory.
No, not a moral, an immoral victory. Absolutely.
Still a hell yeet. So
and how's that a slasher film?
At least I get something out of this episode.
At least I get something.
Oh yeah.
I get some.
Poor Juice.
At least
I
gotta walk away with something here.
I got a big boy prize for my episode.
Damn. We need to start making some of these bumps.
Critics' consensus reads as follows: Zombie shows flashes of vision in the follow-up to his Halloween reboot, but they're smothered by mountains of gore and hackneyed brutal violence. See, that's not the problem.
Yeah,
it really isn't.
Yeah.
No.
Until they started like railing on the gore and the violence, like that is the part that actually is good in this movie, because that's what you expect in a movie and expect from a Rob Zombie produced slasher movie.
Sure.
That's what you want.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you're going to this movie. But yeah, it is smothered. It's just not by that. It's by terrible dialogue and childish fucking decisions in terms of the characters. That's my opinion. Anyway, let's read some negative reviews because they are usually funnier, and there are several funny negative reviews in this one, so I'm going to read a few. 1. Not merely content to make a bad Halloween sequel, Rob Zombie dares to steer the franchise into pretentious territory. That's pretty funny. You don't think so? You don't think there's some pretentiousness going on here?
I think it's laziness.
Maybe a dash.
I like, even with Rob, that's the thing that kind of pissed me off about Rob Zombie. He's like, fuck it, you'll watch it anyways. He did the same thing with 31. Like people paid him to make that movie. He was supposed to make it a certain way. He didn't, and just said, fuck it, you'll watch it anyway.
The White Horse isn't pretentious.
No, in the same way, he admits, like, I just saw a
Yeah.
horse, so I put it in my movie. He that's the thing. He's willing to just throw his middle fingers up and say, fuck you, you'll watch it anyways. And that's why I fucking hate this guy.
I don't know, man. He started the fucking movie with an explanation of his core fucking symbolism. Like, it's not like ideas come from anywhere. You can have I'm sure fucking like people call like David Lynch pretentious all day long and not unwarranted necessarily. But like, you think he didn't get an idea from looking at a weird bread box or some shit? Inspiration comes from anywhere. It's how you use it, and how he used it was pretentiously, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
I don't think he
apparently not as
believes
funny
it.
to you.
I don't think he believes it.
Maybe not. I don't know. I'm
Let's get him on
no
the
window
phone.
into the man's soul.
Yeah. Come
Let's
on,
read some funny
defend
reviews.
yourself. Zombie versus Soju. Okay, let's have
Negative
debate.
review the second. Look, we got things to do here.
Keeping the beat.
Wish Michael Myers would have taken his knife to that stupid white horse.
Shit.
That
Horse murder? No.
Damn, it's not the horse's fault.
It's not the horse's fault. Here's another one. Let's float a notion. This is interesting. Rob Zombie is the greatest horror movie director never to make a great movie. I think that is way overblown.
What?
Whoa.
Way overblown.
I don't like that notion. Don't float that notion.
Whoa.
Let's-
Don't float my
that,
nose.
that notion
guy.
isn't a floater. It's a sinker.
I'm sinking that notion. That's a sinker.
That one's getting flushed.
Whoa,
Oh,
don't
guy.
float my nose, guy.
Stop floating my notion. I don't like it.
Here's another one. It's as if the studio, Dimension, let some testosterone boiling 15-year-old boy with a case of Red Bull in his belly make a slapdash gore fest where a woman in white with a white horse is meant to represent the psychological underpinning of a mute killer. I mean, that seems pretty on point.
That's pretty well written.
Hopped up on Red Bull, eh?
Right in the old belly.
Rob Zombie's a
agree.
vegetarian. Okay, he just likes horses. It's
Say,
fun.
I don't think there's real bull in Red Bull.
Don't lie to me. I know there's bull in there.
That's
There's
bull.
some bullshit.
right.
Right from
Hey,
the
let's move
old
on.
Keeping the
right from
beat.
the
All
old
right, we're moving on.
testicles.
We got other shit to do. We're talking. It's totally time for trivia. That's what we're doing.
It's totally time for trivia.
Hey there, boys. Would you believe it? John Carpenter was offered a cameo in this film, but he turned it down.
What?
way.
Oh.
What? No
That's why I
way.
can't give
What?
half star for the Weird Al. He should have had more respect for himself.
Half star for the Carpenter.
Weird
cameo.
Al will appear in what you invite him to appear in. This was not like elder statesman of comedy Weird Al. This was mid 2000s, hadn't had a hit in a while Weird Al, and I love Weird Al to death. But
I
this
love
was
Weird.
not his.
Well, let me
I love
question
Weird.
his choices more so
My
you
boy
have to
Weird.
defend them.
Are you calling
Rob
a
Zombie.
beauty queen, you lint liquor?
Rob Zombie had a few days worth of footage shipped off for development at the very start of production on this movie. The film canisters were accidentally x-rayed by airport security, which ruined the film, forcing them to
sucks.
reshoot several days. And specifically, one of the scenes that they had to reshoot was the scene with Richard Brake. So we had to fly all the way back to the States from London just to reshoot
my
his, what's the difference between
Thank
jam and
God.
jelly fucking scene.
Oh,
Thank God he
shit,
did.
dude.
That poor man had to say
Oh
that
my
dialogue
God.
twice at least.
Oh my
Production time
God,
for the
dude.
film was very troubled as Rob Zombie frequently clashed with the Weinsteins, who were difficult to work with. One egregious interference was when 2 weeks of the shooting schedule was slashed on the very first day of filming, forcing Zombie to tear out pages from the script, which
we
is
didn't get more of this
nuts.
awesome script.
They
They read that script and said, Zombie, you can wrap this shit up quick. Come on now.
Yeah, you can cut
Come
out 2
on.
weeks. I did not confirm this, but allegedly the word fuck and its various derivatives are uttered 112 times in this
See,
movie.
That's the shit right there. That is part of like one of the biggest parts of the problem. I curse like a motherfucking sailor. I'm no prude. But like in this movie, it's absolutely worn as a badge of honor to say the word fuck so many times. And that
As
is the most
much as
childish,
possible.
cringy shit I have ever seen in a film. It's so
Yes.
fucking cringy. And it's not just this movie; it's
Yes.
all zombie movies. It's like
It's
there's no
true.
fucking award for most for curses, and if they are, it's presented in the back of a Spencer's Gifts next to the dildos. Who gives a shit?
That
Next
Randy
to
will
the
sell you
old
if you're a
dildos.
40-year-old woman. The theatrical cut ending was reshot, and it was enforced by the Weinsteins. The original ending saw everybody die, of course, which didn't go over well with them. They wanted to keep Lori alive so they could have a possibility for a third film. So they made him reshoot it and release that ending as the theatrical cut.
That
The
shooting
original
scene also was embarrassing. The way Michael Myers is like getting shot, it just looks so
I didn't see
stupid.
it. Was it like
Oh
Donald
my
Glover getting hit with paintballs?
Yes, it's pretty much.
yeah, shoulders popping.
I
Basically.
think
One of
Donald did
those.
it better.
Well, yeah.
The
Who could have guessed?
the original opening of this film grossed less than the 2007 remake, which was approximately 7 million. It would eventually gross 33.4 in North America with another 6 foreign, so basically 40 million total. Zombie reclined to do a third installment, which was eventually canceled, and I guess it was going to be Halloween 3D, shot in 3D for some reason. The last bit of information I have here is: did you guys know Jeff Daniel Phillips plays the Geico caveman?
No, but sure.
He does, which
Okay.
is a very strange fact that we all now get to know
That
together.
was my least favorite. I like the pile of money with the googly eyes. That was always my favorite.
Oh yeah.
That
Jesus
shit killed me
Christ.
every time. I love that
It
little-
did. I
yeah.
can confirm. You would fucking lose your shit.
I
That
did.
money's watching me, dog. It's got eyes. It's got eyes.
That shit, I
Um,
love that shit.
That is all I got for trivia. Let's talk Cooter of the Week.
Oh shit! It's time for Cooter of the Week. There we go.
Straight chillin'. Gooder of the week.
Juice, what is a Cooter and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter is a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter, but we want the Cooter with the most points. The 5 points of Cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, I would like to nominate one Mr. Robert Zombie
All that.
to the court.
Well, I think it's important to note that we have a Cooter
Strong
legend
Cooter.
in this film in the form of Richard Brake. I mean,
No,
that
he's
man's
hit
that man's bread and
several times
butter is being
before.
a Cooter.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's
He
true.
wants to bang a corpse.
He probably got it
Yeah.
in old Doom, if I remember it correctly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think probably Richard Brake could hit Loomis in this film. Dear
Loomis
God,
is a huge Cooter in this.
he's a huge
Yeah.
Character
Cooter.
wise, absolutely. To me, like he's the most obvious Cooter because it's like he is basically like a Jeremiah Sand mixed with the reporter from Die Hard who needs to get punched at the end. Like
He's got arrogance
And Gale
out,
Weathers.
out the ass.
Yeah,
He's got
arrogance.
manipulation too.
Mhm.
Pathetic.
Pathetic.
He is pathetic. And he is dresses normal and he's not trying to sex anybody up.
He
No
might be
corpses.
goes out
somewhat
like a
sexual
bitch.
deviant. Maybe.
like the patheticness is high. The look and attire, like he talks shit about the original Loomis outfit, and I'm like, you know, like I guess it's just to give him something to talk about. Like,
Yeah,
I guess
looking at
that's
attire,
it.
I don't know. He's got some wonky glasses a couple times.
Those
I
are
don't know.
cool.
No,
They're
they're not cool,
cool.
Bob. Let me go ahead and
They're
tell you.
really, really cool.
You buy them and wear them.
No, I'm not that cool. I can't be
Okay,
that
yeah, okay.
cool. I can't do it.
Can't pull off those glasses.
Well, that's 3 out of 5 for sure. Maybe 3.5 if you want to go with the glasses.
Mhm. He
The
makes
gla-
a
the
couple
glasses.
questionable content about sexuality a couple times that might
Oh,
make
yeah.
him somewhat of a sexual deviant.
Yeah,
don't
he
know.
wants.
If we want to attribute that.
offhandedly offers to beat a woman if he wants her opinion. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's that.
What are you, a clam digger? And I don't mean that in a lesbian way.
But
What?
he
What?
doesn't mean it in a lesbian way.
Oh, okay.
He's fine.
Mm-hmm.
With a bottle of tequila and 3 she boys.
Wow.
Thanks, Richard, for bringing us back down to earth.
Richard, you're a gem. So we went through Loomis. Who else?
Anybody else?
Richard Brake. I mean, he's really quick. Dude, Rob Zombie. I
Sexual
think Rob
damage
Zombie
was-
has so many cooters because he's a cooter. He's a cooter himself. He is.
I don't know anything about the man beyond these movies, but I can
He
tell you
seems
that
fine.
No,
I can tell you-
know he doesn't.
I think that the level of insecurity on display in this movie is astounding, and I honestly want to chalk it up more to that than cooterdom. Like, I think these are the ramblings of an insecure teenager, not the
So you're
makings of
saying
a
he's
stalwart
pathetic.
filmmaker.
As
Sure,
a grown
but
man, he's
let's-
pathetic.
Let's talk about this man personally
filmmaker.
and attack him.
Call me and
He-
defend yourself, Zombie, okay?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is
He's busy raking in cash, man. Like,
He's-
Yeah,
he's
apparently
alright.
not.
he knows a
Uh,
lot of very tall men that we could insult and have them beat us up.
Dude,
That's true.
Monsters is coming out this week. Woof.
I've seen my boy Tyler Mang in the flesh. That's a big motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
really like. Is he in anything else? I don't really know him.
I don't know. I
Okay.
couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
Is anybody? Are we really doing Rob Zombie here? Is that what we're doing? We're going through all the points.
I
I
mean, I
think
think
me
we all know
too.
he's a cooter at this point, so we can
Oh,
move on.
yeah.
We've covered
Oh,
several
so-
of his
so you
films
know the thing
every
you-
time.
You know the thing that you are applying to our
We
opinions
reviewed
is true.
31. We've already claimed him in
Look,
Cooter
man,
Court, okay?
There like the writing lends credence to that, but I honestly think it's not even, it goes beyond patheticness. It's just sort of like insecure lashing out, and there's no reason for this man to feel insecure. He's achieved more than we ever have, so I just don't get it.
Yeah.
So has Jeff Bezos, Randy.
Okay,
Doesn't mean
Wow.
he's not a cooter.
All right. We're going with Loomis. Loomis is our cooter of the week. We got
I don't see him as an insecure man. Do you?
Just saying.
The
Mm,
opposite
Success
of that.
doesn't mean everything.
Justin is just saying.
Oh,
things.
damn. This
yeah,
dude
just
is
anything
huge.
to
He was
anything
in.
to say something.
I think he was in that movie with Brad Pitt where he's got a sword.
Keeping the beat, keeping the beat. Yes, it's true. I'm keeping the beat.
What's the next
Hell
segment,
yeah.
Bob?
Hell yeah. We are running late as fuck, so we're gonna go ahead and skip over what we've been watching this week and head into our hotline screams.
Hotline scream.
If you are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We got a couple of voicemails this week. We got a holdover from last week, actually. Our boy Hugh called in twice. We're going to hear from Hugh again. This is picking up from last week. Let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah, this is Hugh again. I guess I went on too long. I was talking about you guys about turning me off on horror last week when we started talking about drumsticks up the butt and the haunted glory holes. But being new to horror, really, I guess I thought about it and I'm in. Anyway, like I said, I watched that group of 4 movies. They were all, I liked them all. They were all different in their own way. Scary, for sure. Funny thing is, I've watched about 20 horror movies, and the only thing that's given me nightmares is old Jean-Luc Picard's role in Life Force. That's the scariest thing I've ever seen. Other than that, your week's prompt about if you've turned anybody on to horror or being new to it, I haven't, but I'm actually going to, I'm not going to convert someone, but my brother hates horror. He hates anything scary. I've told him to watch Hereditary. I figure by the time that thing really gets rolling, he's going to be into it so much that he's going to have to know how it ends. So this is going to be hilarious. He probably won't talk to me for a couple of weeks after he watches that, but it'll be entertaining. anyway, thanks again for the show. Enjoy it, and I'll keep listening and keeping a list of shows and movies I should watch. Thanks.
That was new patron Hugh calling in and finishing his thoughts from last week. I love the idea of introducing your friend who does not know anything about horror movie, does not like horror, to Hereditary to start things off.
I think it was his brother, actually, which is even
Yeah.
worse, ruining family
That's actually
ties.
smarter because, I mean, it's not like he's not going to see him in Thanksgiving. So they can patch things up over a Steve Martin movie.
Whoa.
Just shooting daggers across the dinner table, slurping up your gravy. Nice and awkward.
Who brought the pie on? I mean, pie.
It doesn't have nuts in it, does it? I hope not. Hugh's in for the drumsticks up the beehole, so he's a ride or die. He's hard with us. We love to hear it. Thanks for calling in, Hugh. Hope you're doing well. Hopefully you and your brother are still talking. Next up, we're gonna hear from our boy Hydraberg. Let's hear what he has to say.
What up, boy? It's your boy Hydraberg. I'm calling in. I got another story about a bachelor party. This is like the only other one I went to. I like how Chris called in this week and was like, "Oh, I don't have anything to top Hydraberg's last story." And then he tells a story that probably does top mine. I mean, I don't know. That fucking hand job story is pretty funny. It was a little depressing too. That poor girl had to make that walk down the hallway with all those guys. I'm just thirsty as shit. But
hilarious.
Yeah, it was a good story, Chris. I'm glad I inspired someone to call in, and at least somebody went to a real bachelor party. They were like Chuck E. Cheese for the weekend or some shit. Come on, step it up. Pizza parties for bachelor parties. Let's go. You can do that any time of the week. But anyway, so my buddy got married in 2013. We went to Foxwoods in Connecticut. We rented a nice like fucking Tahoe. We got on the ferry with it, and we all drove up there, the boys, doing boyish things. And we got up there. We got a really nice suite, several rooms. We had bongs and beers and all this stuff. We did some gambling, and then we had some two girls came up to the room later. So we went upstairs. They did their thing. Nothing too crazy, but no ass. But they're dancing and they had some toys. So one of them vibrated, and I don't know. I may have been like sitting down there for a minute on the ground after they used it, and I may have picked it up. I don't remember. And then so next thing I know, like one of the girls goes to like use it again, and then she's like, "Did you break this?" And I'm clear as day. I say to her, "If smelling it means I broke it, then yeah, I broke it." And everybody just started fucking laughing their ass off. I don't know if she liked that. I didn't break it, I swear. I would have reimbursed her if I had. But yeah, it was a pretty funny story. One that I thought would just stay there, but it's not Vegas, so what happens in Foxwoods, I guess, comes home. And it's a story that literally it's a saying that they say even when I'm not there. Like they'll be out golfing and like literally one of the guys will just say, "If smelling it means I broke it, then yeah, I broke it." And I just love the way that it lives on as like this joke that just keeps going like over almost 10 years later. So it's a pretty good story. That's really all as far as haunts and stuff, I've never worked for a haunt. I've gone to them. I'm not big on motherfuckers jumping out and trying to scare me. I don't know, like, I'm okay. Like, I like to be scared, but I don't know. Like, when people touch you or get in your personal space, there's part of me, maybe it's a New Yorker in me. I want to fucking, touch them back. Like, I just, like, I don't know. I'm not comfortable with that shit. I like them, but I'm always wary of going because I'm just like, they kind of put me on edge. I feel like I'm going to, like, misbehave and get in trouble. And who knows, like.
And that's the end. And of course,
like nothing I'd ever smelled before in my life.
Required.
In my life.
Damn.
So
it's a potent brew.
I mean, honestly, if given a shit for going to medieval times for a bachelor party and then immediately telling us a story about sniffing a stripper's vibrator or comparing it to getting reluctant, sad hand jobs in a bathroom, I'll pass. Give me the fucking Knights and fucking Pepsi.
I think
I'm
we're
fine
winning.
with that.
Randy's
Knight's going down,
face,
baby.
Randy's face. Oh my god, that show is killing me.
Yeah,
Killing
Randy
me.
biting his finger.
Yeah, that would be my see you later moment personally, if not earlier.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's pretty
same.
good. That was pretty good.
To each their own. Medieval
I
Knights.
thought that he took away the mystique of the story.
He did indeed.
Damn, I know. Leave me
Shame.
guessing, guy. You know what was going on?
Right. Medieval Knights going at it. Pretty fucking
Medieval
fun.
times.
I recommend it. Wait, yeah, the knights are battling is what I'm
Yes.
talking about.
Down,
Medieval
down.
times.
Red
Down.
Knights
Red Knights
going
going down. Thanks for calling in, Heidelberg. That sounds like a weird story. I hope you're okay.
That sounds like a weird thing that you have said.
I hope it all ended well.
Ah,
Thanks for calling in.
On some grinding.
If you guys are listening and want to call in and leave a voicemail for next week, hit us up at 904-638-3231. Gentlemen, do you have any prompts you want to throw out there for next week?
well, I thought that the haunt prompt was really great, but in absence
Yeah.
of that, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to talk about Rob Zombie ever again, so that's
No.
not very enticing.
That's-
I don't know. What I don't have anything.
Pitch
I
us,
have
pitch
nothing.
pitch us a new idea for a well-worn franchise. Okay, if you have some
Sure.
idea where you think something could go in an interesting way, give us a 3-minute pitch. Maybe
And of
we'll
course, it
find
becomes
you
our
some.
intellectual property the moment we
Yeah,
play
of
it on
course.
the
Yeah, we
air.
That's
own
right.
it at that point.
We own
But
it.
maybe one day you'll be famous in the
Just
credits.
say walrus
So-
yes to this idea.
Just call me. Okay, give me your ideas. Just call. No.
Give me your ideas. Looking for
that's-
Totally.
Matt Damon here, looking for my Ben Affleck. Oh wait, the other way around actually.
Whichever.
Nah, you said it right. the first
Whichever.
time.
Yeah,
Sure.
hit us up. How do you freshen up an old crusty franchise? Let us know. We're going to be back next week with a brand new show as always. We're going to be talking about a new release. It's kind of up in the air at the moment. We're either going to be talking about Pearl or Barbarian. So
Mystery
stand by.
box.
Yeah, stand by for that. Both new releases, both in theaters currently, so you should be able to find them relatively easily. Slam your eyeballs into both of them. Treat yourself. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling. On Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. Send us an email at straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to join in on our Slack channel, daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. Again, Jacqueline, thanks for picking this week's flick.
Thanks,
and until
Jacqueline.
next week,
Thank
as
you,
always,
Jacqueline.
all you mother truckers, please.
Thank you.
Keep chilling.
We really appreciate you, Jacqueline.
Yes,
Thank you.
Keeping the beat. Yes, it's true. I'm keeping